Before I even get into all these other big stacks of news, before I detail the latest jihad operations, I want to start with this stack because this ties into everything. This is such an amazing stack. Reuters has a headline. And just this headline is an entire college course on deception. OSCE rights group requests 500 international observers to monitor U.S. presidential vote. And then it goes on because they believe there's going to be fraud. But not by Hillary, but by Trump, with no evidence of that. She's the one that just stole it from Bernie Sanders. He stopped the Republicans from stealing it from him. Now, the real headline should be UN EU Directive, an organization to oversee U.S. elections. But see, they know that'll scare you and wake up people because we've been warning of this forever. So they just say OSCE. That right there is the tactic. Then you read the Reuters article, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. That's the original group set up in the Marshall Plan that the UN was set up through. So this is the predecessor of that, to send 500 international observers to observe November U.S. presidential election, a tenfold increase from the number the group deployed in 2012. Because they knew Romney'd take a dive. And then it goes on with what they say. Now, I thought Donald Trump's a total kook for saying there's a lot of evidence of election fraud. We need to investigate it and watch it. But now the Justice Department is the group giving them the federal authority to do this. And they announced last week, Jay Johnson, that he's going to put fivefold the federal observers to make sure illegals and others can vote. That's really what's happening. So they're coming in to make sure voter fraud can take place, the Democrats' specialty. Isn't that just darling? So, contradictions within contradictions. The UN, EU, Organization of Economic Cooperative Development that has this security treaty set up, security cooperation in Europe. I mean, almost no one knows who all these groups and organizations are. I do. I've studied the globalists. So this is actually the original globalist organization that took over Europe after World War II to oversee our elections. This is beyond the UN. This is the group the Rockefellers and Rothschilds set up, and then they set up the UN after that. Global government. Now, let's continue. For 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, we've been harping on the fact that there is no coverage in U.S. mainstream dinosaur, Decepticon, enemy, collaborator media, or what I should call discredited corporate media, 6% trust rate according to the Associated Press in their own international study or national study. But strangely enough, in Europe, it's gotten coverage. In the German news and the French news and the Russian news, the Italian news, and now the Jerusalem Post gets it completely right when it says this. What have I been harping on day after day? Our world, Jerusalem Post, Soros campaign of global chaos. The first thing we see is the megalomaniacal nature of Soros's philanthropic project. No corner of the globe is unaffected by his efforts. No policy area is left untouched. And then it goes through the emails. How to overthrow the U.S., how to overthrow Israel, how to overthrow Europe. This is so, and we have him, diabolical. And some people, because they've been conditioned by the press, will say, oh my gosh, Israel's bad, let's get Israel. Israel's a complex situation, and Israel's done some bad things, just like the U.S. has. But I'll tell you, I'll take Israel over George Soros any day, sweetheart. Israel's a diverse group. Soros is a Nazi collaborator, literal demon. But the point is, forget Israel. Forget the U.S. George Soros's emails are public for almost what is it, 16 days. Thousands of them. How they're bringing in the Muslims to overthrow things. How they're destabilizing. It's all there. Arrest him. And even the Jerusalem Post comes out. If I have time later in the third hour, I'm going to read this whole article. But I've got hundreds, so I've got to move. UN to run our elections with Justice Department power and under strong cities, I'm getting chills, to oversee our police departments. That's Loretta Lynch saying that, not me. We are so conquered. But if we admit we've been taken over, it will implode. It's illegitimate. What do they call the North American Union documents in 2008 from Banff, Canada, when Judicial Watch sued and got them? What did they call it? They called it North American Integration and Global Governance by Stealth. What does stealth need? To be stealth. If it's not stealth, it crashes and burns. Oh, we're going to beat these people. And by the way, it's not the Russians hacking Soros. I can tell you that. I've confirmed from high-level sources that it's U.S. agencies. Absolutely. Wake up, save the country. We can defeat these people bloodlessly by exposing their crimes. Let's keep hitting them and hitting them hard. I salute the folks inside the government doing this. Hit them and hit them hard. Hit all of them. But notice the whole world's hitting Soros. Everybody knows who the enemy is. Worldwide concern over too many immigrants, study shows. Yahoo News. But that's okay. Paris tourism chief demands rescue plan as attacks scare off visitors. And they basically lost half their tourism last year. But don't worry, Daily Mail has the quote, and there's a video. But it's in Parlez-vous français. Borders are the worst invention ever, close quote. EU chief Jean-Claude Juncker. Look into the Juncker family, folks. Widens rift with European leaders as he calls for open borders. That's like saying doors on your house are the worst invention ever, or privacy is the worst invention ever, or having a safe is the worst invention ever. If we didn't have borders, Genghis Khan would rule the world today, or his offspring would, or Hitler. I mean, what are they talking about? A bad guy takes over one country, other countries can organize against it. But under a global government, you can't do that. You're under one system. So the people are like, we're panicking. They're murdering us. 5 million deported, and they're killing people. They're burning vehicles. They're robbing. They're raping. And he's just like, we're getting rid of it. EU boss sparks border outrage. Juncker slammed over beyond parity. Checkpoint madness. But don't worry, Sarkozy announces a bid for 2017. He's the guy that helped get rid of their borders. 8 Facebook users indicted for mocking. Gotta love that. But before I get into all this other news, massive censorship in Europe against anybody criticizing this. This is how they're conquering the planet. And the head of the UN Borders and Migrants Council is actually the founder of the EU. And he is openly admitting it is to bring down the West. And then we've got the clip we played yesterday of Vice President Biden saying, yes, white people are bad. We've got to get rid of them. I mean, this is crazy.